Welcome to Step Zero. I'm your host, Caitlin Henry. Today, I'm sitting down with someone whose story radiates authenticity and courage, Shannon Leigh McCabe. Hi, Shannon. It's nice to have you here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So I want to tell you a little bit about Shannon. She's a holistic nutritionist, sober coach, podcast host, and mother who's transformed her own battle with alcohol addiction into a mission to help others break free. Over 3 years sober, she shares her journey with an openness that makes people feel seen, whether she's talking about recovery, motherhood, or what it really means to start over. She's also the host of The Shannon McCabe Show, a podcast dedicated to real talk about alcohol, empowerment, and redefining sobriety on your own terms. Through her signature program, The Alcohol-Free Blueprint, she's helped countless women find freedom from alcohol by combining mindset work, holistic health strategies, and practical tools for lasting change. So today we're going to dive into what it means to heal from the inside out, mind, body, soul, and how sobriety becomes the doorway to self-trust and self-love. So again, Shannon, I'm so happy you're here and I'm excited for you to tell us your story today.
Thank you. When you hear somebody else kind of lay out your stuff like that, it chokes me up because I just think about how long my life did not sound like I have it together the way I kind of mostly do.
Oh my God, getting goosebumps.
I know,
because I
it's like a
couldn't agree
miracle.
more.
Yeah, every time I hear it,
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh, thank God. Just thank God.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm all about the tears and the laughter on this show. So I think you're my first guest to cry this early. This makes me just
God.
warm at heart. So
Yeah.
we're going to get into it today with Shannon, and I want to start at the beginning. When did you realize that you had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol? And what did your life look like before you decided to make a change?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I think when I first really started to understand like, okay, this is probably a problem. This is probably something I should pay attention to. It was probably like 2017, 2018. And I don't think anything had really like happened. It was just, I had slowly gotten to the point where I was drinking most nights of the week because I had completely fallen into mommy wine culture, right? Like, mommy wine culture really became a thing by the time I had my third baby. I have 3 daughters. They're all basically 3 years apart. And my middle one has special needs. By the time she was a toddler and then there was a new baby, mommy wine culture was becoming a thing. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like, I get to connect with other moms. They're telling me it's not a big deal to have like a glass of wine at night. And I really didn't think it was a problem because I was such a healthy person, right? Like, my husband's a chiropractor. I was already a health coach. We were runners. I was like running half marathons. So it was like, okay, fine. Wine makes me happy. It helps me relax. It seems like it's the thing to do. And so I had existed in that space for a long time. And like I said, I think it was 2017, 2018, was drinking most nights of the week. And that was the first time that my husband said something, we should probably just cut back a little bit. Like, we should probably go back to like just drinking on weekends. And as soon as he said it, like, I panicked. I remember because I was like, oh crap, I don't think I can. That was the thing. It wasn't even I don't want to. It was like, I don't think I'm able to. It had become such a fixture in my life, and it had become like my number one coping mechanism.
And was that internal, or did you say that out loud to
Nope,
him?
I did not say it out loud at all. So that was like the very beginning of the shame and even the secrets, which that like secretive is what led to then in like 2020 when the pandemic hit, when I started hiding my drinking and like literally hiding alcohol in my house. It was like built on that shame and that secrecy, because it was the first time that I realized like I can't just quit, and like what's wrong with me, because my husband could. I didn't understand then what we know now about how some people really can just shut it off and other people can't. And I very much was a person already that couldn't. It was like I couldn't imagine making it through the day without looking forward to my glass of wine at 4 p.m. And so, oh my gosh, even thinking back, like that's when the agony began, because I would try to do it for him and try to make it look easy. And
I want to stop you there, because as a health coach already, as a runner, as someone active, as someone who could wait until 4 p.m. for their drink, you were still having that internal struggle, still the shame spiral of, I know I want to stop, but why can't I?
Exactly. And it was it was that, like, that struggle that, like, right away it consumed so much of my energy and made me feel so like there was something wrong with me. Like I was missing something that seemed so, must have been so obvious to other people, but wasn't to me, because it was like I had my act together in every other area of my life and I could do all the healthy things with ease. But then this one thing really felt like it had control over me. And the more I tried to be like, okay, no, it doesn't have control over me, I'm in charge, the more obvious it became that that wasn't the case. And I just felt like I just need to keep trying harder, right? Like that's when, I mean, oh my God, I think of the few years then that I spent with the rules, because it was like, okay, I'll only drink from like 4 to 7. Once we finish dinner, then I'm not going to drink. And then, well, that didn't really work because once I started, I could never stop. So then it was like, oh, well, I'm not going to start until 7 p.m. I'll wait until after dinner. Well, then I was just pounding wine from 7 to 9. Or it was like, I'm only going to drink organic vodka because it was lower in calories. And like, right? Like the
Yes,
insanity.
I just resonate so
Yep.
deeply. It's the managing and controlling it, but
Yes.
doing it all internally. You're not telling anyone, but you're like, oh, maybe if I just do beer and wine, and then I won't touch
Right.
tequila or vodka for a while, you
Right.
know?
Yep. And it would be for a long time. It was when we were runners, I would only let myself drink. The fact that right away, now I know that I would think I'll let myself. I had to make these conditions. I didn't know what a red flag that was, but I would
Yes.
only let myself drink on days basically that I had ran, because then the next day was going to be a rest day and I wasn't going to run. And I thought that was so smart and so healthy and like, see, I'm doing such a good thing here because I don't want to negatively impact a workout the next day. So I'm not going to drink the night before a run. And I could do like 48-hour cycles like that because it's like I dangled it as the carrot in front of me.
Well, look at me. I can take a break. I don't have a problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. It could just be like, no, I'm fine. I can take a break. Look, I'm prioritizing running. And of course, this was all while I'm, cooking organic, and we were gluten-free and dairy-free as a family and all the supplements in the world. And so it was like, I was 100% the poster child for like, no, women like me can't possibly have drinking problems because I know better. And like, no, it's just not possible. And that's really how I existed until lockdowns hit. And then honestly, that just like pulled the rug out from underneath me because I panicked. Honestly, I panicked that liquor stores were going to close. And that was a huge eye-opening, like gut punch for me. That again, I just kept inside. Like there was one day that I went out to get groceries and came home with a box of wine, and my husband's like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, but babe, like what if they close the liquor stores? And I played it off, it's like I was being smart and I was being like, oh my gosh, it was wild because I mean, the stress of that really sent me into a bad place because we have a daughter with special needs. And so we had full-time care coming into the home to help me with her. So I could homeschool her and her sisters, but also work full-time from home and help take care of her needs. Well, that disappeared during lockdowns too. So like on no notice whatsoever, I lost like the whole support system I had for Dylan. And there was no way I was going to navigate that without alcohol. I was just like, you're insane, right? My husband was still going to work. Like he's a chiropractor, so he was essential. So like he still left the house. He didn't know what was happening inside the home anymore. And that was when I remember making the conscious decision to start hiding alcohol in my office because I'm like, he's going to give me a hard time if he knows I'm drinking every night. But there's no way that this period of time when it's like the world's on fire, I had no idea what I was going to hear the next time I turned the news on. I had no idea when I was going to have help for Dylan again. And it became so obvious to me that, yeah, I have no other way of coping with stress than to drink wine. And I knew it was enough of a problem to just start hiding it because I didn't want to have to face that with my husband. I didn't want to have to be like, I can't even go a day anymore. And somehow I was able to hide it well enough that like he truly didn't know. Like my family really didn't know that every time I was going into my office, like, oh, I've just got to go send an email quick, or I've just got to go check on this thing. And I would go and dump wine into like a coffee mug and chug it and leave the mug in there, of course, so nobody could like smell it or find it. And that was just like the beginning of the end, I would say, except that that went on for like 2.5, almost 3 years before I finally quit. And
Wow. So did you quit after COVID was quote unquote over? Were you still hiding it when COVID ended?
I was, and I took a couple breaks. Like there were, I think it was actually the fall of 2020. So like when we got to like November of that year, when I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to take a break. But that was 100% just the like, I just need to reset. It was the idea of like, well, if I take like a month off, then I'm gonna be fine. Like I'm gonna be fine. I'll prove to myself, I'll prove to everybody I can take a month off.
That is exactly what I did. I
Right?
said, okay, I'm just going to take a break for the holidays. First, it was just Thanksgiving, but I was like, okay, if I can get through Thanksgiving, I'll keep this through till Christmas and New Year's. And
Yeah.
if I can stay sober Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, then I don't have a problem.
Right?
And it's that crazy mindset that I think so many of my listeners play the tape of is I can take a break for this extended period of time, even if that looks like a week because you
Yeah.
usually drink daily.
Right.
So I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're saying that this was all internal. And at that time, when you say I was ready to take a break, November 2020, were you starting to research anything? Were you starting to look for sober, curious people? What did that look
Yep.
like for you?
Yeah, it was. I had somehow stumbled upon Sober Instagram, and I don't really even remember how or when, but I had found it and was like binging stuff and really start obviously knowing like, okay, it's not good. I'm hiding alcohol. I really prefer not to go more than 24 hours without a drink. And so when I took that break, of course, I really thought that it would be like, was going to magically just reset me and make me a normal drinker because I had learned enough about this idea of like, oh, well, needing to moderate is a sign that you have a problem and had learned all that stuff, but still was kind of like, but I bet because we all think we're different, right? We all think we can be the exception to the rule. And that's really what I wanted to believe. If I just take a long enough break, I really wanted to just be able to be like my husband because he is 100% the person that can just have 1 or 2 drinks and then not drink for like 3 months and he's totally fine. I don't understand how that's possible, but that was my goal. Well, yeah, that break, I think I made it until Thanksgiving. And then the wheels fell off the bus because
Well, you didn't have any coping tools, like you
Nope.
said.
Right,
That
that
was
was
your
it. I'm
thing
just
to
like,
cope.
well, how am I going to do the holidays? Which for me, born and raised in Wisconsin, I mean, everything is drowning in alcohol. Every occasion, especially the holidays. So I was like, there is no way I'm going to do the holidays without alcohol. But I
Well,
felt
and you've
really
got
proud.
football on TV,
Oh my God,
Wisconsin.
right? Yes, exactly. And I know I'm facing like 6 months of being snowed in, which I hate winter and it makes me miserable anyways. So yeah, it's like 2020 I managed to take a break. I did again in 2021. And then that was it. Like both of those breaks, as soon as they ended, I very quickly was drinking just as much, if not even more. That's when like my health really started to go downhill because of my drinking. Like I had just destroyed my gut health so much. I was gaining a ton of weight. I hated myself. Like I looked in the mirror and I didn't even recognize myself. I was so anxious. I was so depressed, but still just like putting a smile on my face and still just 100% just like, well, most people probably drink the same way I do. So what's the big deal? And also like, I'm still doing so many good things, right? Like I'm homeschooling my kids. I've got a daughter with special needs. Still running a health coaching business, all the while I am like secretly an alcoholic and gaining weight. Somehow,
Well,
by
and
the
the
grace of
I
God.
deserve it
Yeah,
mentality
exactly.
is like you said, it's the mommy wine culture. Well, you
Totally.
deserve a drink. And literally, they advertise to us
Oh
because
my
of
gosh.
that.
Yep. And I bought into that hook, line, and sinker because it was 100%. Really, I mean, you can tell like how long I spent like making this internal checklist of all of my proof, right? My proof that I deserved this reward because alcohol was 100% a reward for me. That's what I had made it out to be. And so yeah, by 2022, by the summer of 2022, that's when like I think in the back of my head I knew that I was coming close to my end point because I really was just so exhausted. I was so physically and mentally exhausted of how much my life revolved around alcohol. And then there were a couple small things that happened like in my personal life around me that kind of put a spotlight on just like the really negative impact that alcohol can have. One was like an altercation with a family member that got insanely drunk at a family function, got in their car and drove away. People were fighting, and it was a moment where my husband and I, we were all there and my girls were there, and we both just looked at each other and were like, okay, we're not okay with our daughters seeing this. But right away, we both were like, but you know what? We didn't behave that way, but we've been here drinking since 11 a.m. and saying like, oh, it's summer. Oh, we're at the lake. But we're like, this is what we're showing our teenage daughters. Are we okay with that? And we weren't. Like, we really weren't. And that whole summer, I was hiding alcohol like in the back of my dresser. I was staying up drinking until like midnight, most nights by myself, just drowning in like anxiety and self-loathing. That fall then, September, we moved into a new house, and it was that process of moving in and settling that I found myself one day, like after school pickup. My youngest daughter was going to our local middle school for some classes. So we were homeschooled, but she was still going, and I went to pick her up and came home. And I, of course, had done my usual, like swore I wasn't going to drink because I was so hungover. But then, of course, stopped to buy wine and vodka when I went to pick her up, and I had to sneak it into the house so nobody would see it. And I was standing in my bedroom trying to figure out how to make this bottle of vodka like fit in the back of my underwear drawer. And the only way I can describe it was like in that moment, I suddenly had this flash of like, honestly, it was like me now, because it was me like healthy again and confident, and just I was like looking at myself at this scene and was just like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what I said. Like, this is your life. This is who you want to be. You want to be a woman hiding vodka in your underwear drawer. Like, this is what we're gonna do. And 2 weeks later, I joined a program, and I quit a week after that, because it was just like, it was totally this just God moment of if you don't do something now, then this is just the end of it. This is just how this is going to go. You're going to not be able to even hide the fact that you're a raging alcoholic pretty soon. And thank God something in that moment made me realize that like, I actually don't want this to be my life anymore. And I also had tried to quit enough times on my own and failed miserably that I was willing to admit that I needed help. I can't figure this out on my own because I had tried.
Well, I want to stop you there because you're at this crossroads moment of you had the awareness to see yourself almost as if from above, or at least outside this fishbowl that you got stuck in.
Yeah.
And you thought, my God, this is not the woman that I want to be. But again, all internal. You don't have anyone from the outside saying, you need an intervention. You need to go to rehab. You got, caught and put in jail. No, this was all coming from within. And you were awake enough to hear that inner voice, but actually to follow that path, I always say, is not clicking the easy button. The easy button would have been to ignore that, to keep drinking, to drive it even further into the ground. And that's why I like to say you don't have to hit rock bottom to get sober, because that story is your rock bottom.
Yeah.
Personal to each woman, as I know you know, working with so many women.
100%. And that's it. It's just like, I mean, really, and I don't know, there was nothing spectacular about that day or that moment, right? It could have been many other times like that, because there were plenty of other times that I was doing, just looking back now, like crazy crap like that, just like, really? And I had always justified it. I had always made an excuse for it. And like you said, for whatever reason, all of a sudden that day, I'm like, I'm done taking the easy way. I'm done ignoring this voice. I'm done trying to shove it back down and pretend that this is normal, or this is okay, or that it's not getting worse. It's like, I finally just had the clarity to look at, like I said, at the last like 5 years up to that point and think about this and be like, okay, Shannon, you've been telling yourself this is fine for 5 years, and you've been telling yourself that you don't need help, and you've been telling yourself that you've got this under control, and look, like, you are now trying to hide vodka in your underwear drawer. Like, how much worse is this going to get? And that's something that I always say to people too when I'm talking about it. It's like, we don't just all of a sudden wake up one day that woman. Like, I didn't just wake up that day filled with desperation trying to hide alcohol. I made that decision like a million times. Like, there were a million small compromises that led to that. And I know you probably get this too, right? When we share our stories, when people want to hear our stories, there's always this underlying hope of like, they want to be able to hear our story and compare it to their own and be like, I'm not that bad. It's like, okay, because I did that too, right? And there were times that's half the reason I got on sober Instagram, so I could use it as like that yardstick of like, oh, well, I'm not that bad. I'm not drinking mouthwash to get drunk, and I haven't been to rehab, all this stuff. But it's like, if you're even thinking that, that shows how much of a problem. Alcohol
Yeah, if you
is
have to
the problem.
overthink it that much,
Yes,
normies, people like your husband that can drink normally, they don't think about alcohol that
totally.
way. They don't ruminate on other people's alcohol use, none of it.
And I didn't realize that. Isn't that crazy? Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I was so naive, or also just so stuck in my problem because I didn't know that. Like I truly thought everybody got so excited for the weekend so they could just get shit faced. I thought like that's what everybody who drinks got excited like that.
I
No,
have a journal entry that I put in
no.
my book that has to do with a mommy wine meetup. Like it was not a play date, but we as moms, I think, met for a book club or something.
Yeah.
And everybody brings in wine, but I'm watching all the other moms and wondering if they're thinking and feeling about alcohol the way that I am, but I'm keeping it all inside of me. So I'm tracking. Well, they only poured themselves one drink and didn't need any more. Why do I need more?
Yeah.
But I'm not that bad.
Right.
It's just the cycle of it was exhausting in my head. So I want to know, once you did find a program that worked for you, what did that look like physically and emotionally?
Yeah, so it was for me just putting myself in a group that was huge because I think I needed to surrender to the idea that I needed support. And I instantly felt like a huge sense of relief, which I think helped me because I think I was just so exhausted from having this all be inside of me. And I remember that like as soon as I started talking to other people and sharing some of these stories, and there were so many other people that were like, oh my gosh, me too, or oh, I used to do that too. That like normalization just like it lifted this weight off of me that I didn't even know how heavy it had gotten because I was like, oh my God, there's not something like inherently wrong with just me. Like other people are struggling with it too. And then we were in this space where we had coaches and guides and mentors who were also saying like, yes, I used to be just like you. And now I don't even want to drink. I'm so much happier. And so it's cheesy, but it really was just like this. I was filled with so much hope instantly. Oh my gosh, maybe this actually is really possible for me because these people are saying they used to drink just like I'm currently drinking. And now they are so happy without alcohol. That was the first time that I really kind of let myself believe like, oh my gosh, there might actually be hope for me. Like there might be a way out of this. And so I made quitting like my part-time job. And this is something like my husband joked at the time. He's like, so you've gone from binge drinking to binge sobriety because I became obsessed with it. And you know, I mean, when we are willing to admit that we're an alcoholic, we have this part of our personality. I don't do anything halfway. So it's if I'm getting sober, I'm getting sober. And it became like all I thought about because I had promised myself that I was going to give not drinking as much energy as I gave drinking. And so that was kind of like the deal I had made. It was like, okay, I had spent years prioritizing alcohol above almost everything else, you know, and all of the energy, physical and mental energy for hangovers and for planning. It's only fair if I give not drinking that same amount of energy. And so I did it. That was like my operating stance. And so I just dove into it. It was okay, read all the Quit Lit, listen to all the podcasts, just trying to normalize it because I realized I had a completely unhealthy relationship with alcohol. And like I said, it had been my coping mechanism for my entire adult life. It had been a part of every fun memory, every celebration. I'm like, I've got to relearn how to do all of this. And I didn't know how. So I really just committed to making myself a student. Like I want somebody to teach me how to live life without alcohol because I had no frame of reference. And so the program I was in did such a good job of that. It was just eye-opening day after day to be like, oh my God, if I had known this 10 years ago, then maybe I wouldn't have started drinking so much. And if I had known this about alcohol, and why don't the commercials tell you this? All of that stuff. But at the same time, I also knew really quickly on that part of the reason it seemed really easy for me to quit this time. And I saw myself kind of like sailing through some of the road bumps that a lot of other people were struggling with was because of the background I have in nutrition and holistic health, because I actually had a ton of healthy habits that now alcohol was out of the way were really buoying me and carrying me through. Like my sleep got really good almost right away. Cravings weren't that bad because I had, you know, healthy eating habits and supplements and understood hydration and rest. And so really even back then, before I knew that my journey was going to turn into what it was turning into, I was like, God, I really feel like these people, somebody should be teaching them about like how things like protein can help them work through cravings. And so that was like the beginning of me eventually bringing everything together in my own program and as a coach and everything, because I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad for all these people that are struggling. They don't need to be, but other programs they didn't talk about this stuff, right? Like they made it all about like mindset, which is huge. It's a huge part of it. But I'm like, oh my God, physically, there's so much that we can do and so much we have access to. But again, if you don't know, you don't know. And so many
Well, and there's two things here. One is that when you removed something, you then substituted it with something else. You knew this time you needed a program, you needed knowledge, you needed the tools in place of the tool you had been using was alcohol. And I think so many times people think, I'll just remove the alcohol. I don't have to worry. Like it'll just be gone. But I think what you did differently that time was you finally replaced it.
Yep.
The other times before it was like, I'm just going to get rid of it. Everything's going to be fine. But there was this gaping hole. Yeah. And then the second part of what I love that you said is you already had the knowledge of the nutrition mindset, the healthy coaching, and then you were able to look at it in a totally different framework. And I love how you bring this holistic nature and gut health into what you do. So can you share a little bit more about where that took you and how that guided you to the kind of coaching you do today?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Because like I said, I very quickly saw, because you make friends when you put yourself in a group like this, and it's such a vulnerable, intimate situation when you're sharing your deepest, darkest secrets and all the ways that you thought you were failing as a human, and you're learning to let go of that shame and let go of that guilt, and like you said, trying to build new habits and figure out, okay, but then what do I do when I've had a really hard day with my kids, and what do I do when my family still wants to get together and celebrate and they're going to be drinking, but I know that I don't want to drink. And so my program was helping me with all of that. But like I said, then it was like the stuff where I saw people for weeks and weeks and weeks were still just like, oh, I'm still not sleeping good. I'm waking up at night, blah, blah, blah. And so I was having a million conversations on the side with all of these people in my program. Like, have you tried this? Do you have even a bedtime routine? Do you understand what your bedroom situation should be like when you go to bed at night? Have you ever tried magnesium? And people were like, what are you talking? I've never heard of that. And I'm sure like having an understanding and a background too, we get to this point where the things that like we take for granted and just become common knowledge to us, it's easy to forget that not everybody knows this stuff. And so as I was sharing on Instagram, because I started sharing on Instagram when I was like 6 weeks sober, I was just like, okay, just started posting every day, really as like another way to hold myself accountable of like, okay, I really want this to work this time. So I'm just like every morning going to share like a thought of the day. And as I was doing that and even going through the program, and people are like, but what about cravings, and what about sleep, and how are you losing any weight? And it was like, well, yeah, like yes, because I was doing all of those things. So I was sending all day long, just talking to people about what I was doing. And I was like, God, people really don't know this. And as much as I loved the program I was in, it wasn't talking about any of this stuff. And I saw so many people that were getting sucked back into like, oh, well, I gave in and drank last night because I had a headache. And I'm like, it's because you don't even know like how much you're supposed to be hydrating, or making sure you're getting enough protein every day, or sweating to make sure that you're pooping, and like how all of this stuff plays into it. And so, yeah, like throughout my whole first year, it was like gathering like all of my personal experience getting sober and making it to the first year, while knowing in the background that my professional experience was very much helping me. Mm-hmm. And then like once I hit for 1 year sober is when I kind of like, oh, I'm gonna run a little group, would anybody be interested? And it like went off like gangbusters. And I was just like, okay, there's a need for this. Like women specifically, they want to know how to do this better, and they want to know how to like minimize how torturous it can feel, but they just don't know. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of people really needed somebody to teach them. And so yeah, it just snowballed, and I'm like, this is awesome because people need to know this stuff. It can make a huge difference.
Well, and you had a passion, a fire behind it. I always say a lot of women drink over their lack of purpose, and then it gave you something that was purposeful. And for the woman who's listening today, and they're feeling exhausted, or they maybe tried before and now they're really waiting for something to stick, what would be one thing that you would tell them, like one simple change that they could do today in order to walk the path that we got on and then finally weren't leaving?
I mean, honestly, I think if anything, I think one of the biggest things is to get really honest with yourself about why you drink. Because we've got to figure out why we're turning to alcohol before we can figure out what we're going to do instead, right? So for me, it's like I had so much stress, but also so much trauma from the birth and life of my daughter with special needs that I had just completely never addressed. And alcohol had become my only way of coping. So this time I knew I am going to have to feel all of these really hard feelings. And rather than keep using them as an excuse to drink, I'm going to use them as the reason that I want to learn better. So often I see women that just, they want to skip that really messy, kind of hurting, hard part of it. And you just can't, because even then, the healthy habits we're talking about, they're still just going to be a Band-Aid if you're not fixing the reason why you think you need alcohol, because it gets so much easier to quit when we no longer need it, when we just don't need it anymore.
I always say you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm dealing with it at 6.5 years sober. I literally had something this morning and I was pushing it away, this discomfort, this feeling I didn't want to feel. And when I realized that I actually needed to embrace the feeling and internalize it, work through it, maybe journal, maybe all the things we do, right? Take a walk, call a friend, get on a group, do a meeting, whatever it is. But I was like so resistant to it because I didn't want to feel it. So it's not something that you do in early sobriety and then it just goes away. This is something that is a tool that you can take with you. So I love that you're talking about this, because you in early sobriety do feel so uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, how can I work with these feelings instead of picking up the drink?
Right. I love that you said even how it comes up and we deal with this really forever, because this is life. I think that's too. Alcohol and society around alcohol has somehow tricked us into thinking that we should be happy and never feel pain, like all of the time. And that is honestly the dumbest thing ever. Like, life does not go like that. While I will also say, I am 100% so much happier the majority of the time now that I'm sober. But when situations like you're describing, like, life is still gonna life, stuff still comes up. But now we know how to feel our way through it and actually address it so we can resolve it if it can be resolved, make our peace with it. If it's something that we've got to just like let go and make our peace with, we just learn how to do that like so much more efficiently and so much more effectively once alcohol is out of the way. And yeah, it starts by like getting comfortable being uncomfortable and understanding, like, one of the sayings I say all the time is like, the only way through is through. Like, you can't, there's no shortcut to getting through something. You just have to go through it. But most of this stuff gets a lot less scary and a lot less hard when we just finally like go through it and tackle it. It's like the fear and the resistance is so much heavier than just actually the process of going through it.
The surrender. And I wasn't taught how to feel my feelings and emotions. So that was a huge part of why I drank. And I'd love to tie this into motherhood and how we model healing for our children. You're raising these beautiful children and you are now modeling with such integrity, like you said, that shame-based spiral of this is what we're showing our teenagers. That is my why sometimes for why I don't pick up a drink still today. So how has motherhood really deepened your recovery journey?
Oh my gosh, it's 100%. It is the very close second to why I got sober and why I stay sober, right? Like, I know it 100% has to be for me above anything else, but that is part of what it is for me, because I want to be able to hopefully someday when it's all done, look back and feel like I did the best possible job I could. And teaching my daughters how to be women that can handle even everything we were just talking about, like handle life when it doesn't feel good without needing to numb it, without needing to escape it, without trying to run away from it. You're right. Like, I didn't learn a lot of this stuff when I was a kid or in my teen years or even my early like young adult life, and showing my daughters how to do that, even when it's messy, especially when it's messy, right? Because there's so many days now where I'm just like, God, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm not sure how to do this, but I know that I'm not drinking. And there are a lot of times that I just say that I'm like, but I know I'm not drinking, because that's huge. It's a win. And it's showing them that like, it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to cry. It's okay even to like rest and need a break, because that was a huge thing for me, right? I drank a lot of the time just to feel like I had to keep doing everything for everybody. This martyr, this impossible ideal of motherhood. And now it's, no, you know what? I'm at my limit. I am absolutely at my limit. I'm going to rest because it's okay. It doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make me lazy. It doesn't mean I don't care. I'm a human being and we need rest. And even just modeling that for them, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, if I had known that rest does not equal laziness when I was in my early 20s, like how much more differently or easier could my life have been, but whatever.
Totally. And for those moms maybe still feeling the mom guilt, or for me, it was I'm breaking generational cycles of this for my kids. I want to show them a different way. What would you say to the mom who's feeling guilty for her behavior? And maybe it's so much so that she just doesn't want to start over.
What I come back to, because I feel like sometimes there really is nothing else. It's just that there is no amount of guilt or shame that is going to change the past. There is literally nothing we can do to go back and change the things we've done and the mistakes we've made. So we can either decide to let that shame like suffocate us and keep us frozen and stuck, or we use it as the actual foundation as to why we're going to change. This is my starting point. This is why I'm going to choose to do something different and better, because it's the best possible use of what are like really awful, crappy feelings. They can either sink us or they can be what help us like bring on the next phase of what this can look like.
Yes. And I know as a coach as well, it's those small choices that lead to the big outcomes. And so it's really just making a small change today. It doesn't have to look like this all happens overnight.
Right.
I really want to jump into the alcohol-free blueprint. So you coach women through this signature program. And what does that journey look like?
So the blueprint it's a 3-month program, like a 3-month container. And the first 6 weeks of it are really, really building like an intimate, like kind of peeling back a lot of the layers that we've talked about. It's daily conversations with me and video lessons where we do all of this. It's the mindset stuff. It's letting go of the shame and guilt. It's really getting clear on why do you want change? And then also the foundational, like holistic stuff we were talking about too, like how do we actually deal with cravings so we're not just white knuckling it, right? Like I say, when women work with me and we quit drinking, there's no feeling deprived, there's no misery, there's no white knuckling. We're not just like relying on willpower and like hoping and praying that it all works out. It's just actual like strategies, like let's get in your real life and figure out, okay, do you need to figure out how to deal with stress better? Do you need to let go of past hurt and trauma? Do you need to work on confidence so you can have fun with your friends without needing alcohol? It's like addressing the actual situations in your life so you're not just not drinking, but actually get to a place where you don't need to or want to. Because that's what I always say. Even now, it's been 3 years. I could drink today if I wanted to. I just seriously have zero desire to. Like it holds no value in my life. And so that's what the blueprint is helping women just recreate their life. So you don't feel like you're losing who you are, or you have to like burn your life to the ground and start over, but make the changes that you need to make so that you do your life in a way where alcohol just doesn't add anything to it.
Yes, I love that. And do you have any sort of like open sharing, how we're saying when we both got sober, we needed to go somewhere and to share and to just get it out and feel heard, but also hear other people? Is there anything in the program that allows women to share how they're feeling?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the whole program, it's a very closed private group. It's women only, because I'm kind of the school of thought of like teach what you know. And so having men in there, I think would kind of stifle women's vulnerability.
Yes.
But so every lesson, there's a lot of coaching and just conversation that happens in the comments of the lessons, because they're deep and it asks a lot of reflection. And then there's calls every week, so we can hop on Zoom, or they just submit questions and I answer. So it is a very intimate, involved, pretty much daily process if people want it to be a daily process. But yeah, sharing, okay, I did this and I can't believe how well it worked and how well I feel. Or also like, oh, I'm really stuck here. I can't figure out how to move past it. And the sharing in the community, I mean, that's what's so beautiful, because I think like we were both saying before, you sometimes don't know how much you're missing that until all of a sudden you have it and you're like, oh my God, this is like changing everything for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm going to talk about links later where you can find Shannon's programs, but the one thing I want to talk about is these rapid fire questions I love to ask people, and it's just a few. But right now, what is one of your favorite daily rituals that helps you stay sober?
Oh my gosh, my infrared sauna. It was a splurge, and it is my new, that is how I escape the world, because unless the house is burning down, nobody can come interrupt me. I watch a cheesy movie and I just sit there and shut out everything for 45 minutes, and it's like my happy place.
I love that. And I would also like to say to the listener, Shannon has saved that much money over these 3
Oh
years
my
of
God.
sobriety that she
Yeah.
could splurge and buy
That
that.
was like 2 months.
Exactly. I love because I just went to Greece and I spent money for my 40th birthday and I did a reel on it and I was like, this is how much I've saved over time. It's
Oh,
literally
yeah.
been over 30 grand. I didn't
Oh
even
my
do it
gosh.
quite accurately. And I was like,
Right?
wow, this really paid for my 40th birthday trip. So
100%.
I love that. Okay. Today, or even in early sobriety, what was your favorite sober drink or go-to splurge snack, sweet?
Oh, my go-to was always ginger beer and club soda, half and half with a big lime in it. And I always had the the Lindor milk chocolate truffles. I would have like 2 of those. And I mean, yeah, throughout the whole night, 4 of the ginger beer and club soda.
I
And lots
like
of
to
chocolate.
mention to women when you
Yeah.
remove wine, you crave sugar because
Totally.
there's so much sugar in wine.
Yep.
And so the first 6 months of my sobriety, I splurged on all the sweets, but I had never been a sweets person.
Yes.
So I was so confused. Why do I now want dessert? Oh, because I used to drink 2 to 3 glasses of wine for dessert.
Yep.
So I
100
love that.
That was me too, yeah, because I was up to almost 2 bottles of wine. So it's the chocolate and the hit from that ginger beer. Yeah, that was almost my entire first year of sobriety. I just let myself have that. And I don't care about the calories because it's not vodka and it's not wines.
Exactly. And that's what I want to remind the
Yep.
listener. We had the same experience where it was the first year, but
Yeah.
it does go away. So don't get in fear that if you're
Totally.
eating a pint of Ben and Jerry's every night, that's going to be your life for the indefinite
Right.
future.
It's
We're
not.
here to tell you it gets better. And then, like you do, go inward, focus on the holistic health, the
Yes.
gut health.
Yep.
Yes. And again, you can reach out to Shannon for her program so you can get some tools there. And this is the last question I like to ask my guests. If you were to go and have coffee with your younger self, what is one thing that you would tell her?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I think I would just tell her to just stop keeping it all in. Yes, remember from an early age, always feeling like I had to act like everything was okay, especially when it wasn't. And I think that just led to a world of hurt because I never felt like it was okay for me to need to take a break or ask for help or not be smiley and happy all the time. And I would just tell her that, yeah, it's okay to not be okay sometimes and to let people help you.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also the gift we get to pass along to our children.
Oh my gosh.
I know that one always hits
I
me
know
deep.
that one always like.
Yeah, well, I have goosebumps. I love the mother that you're exemplifying to your children. I love the woman you are that's helping so many women. So tell our listeners, where can they find you? Website, socials, all of it.
Yes, Instagram, you guys, at Shannon Leigh McCabe. Otherwise, my website, shannonleigmccabe.com. Everything's there. Instagram, podcast, blog, all the ways you can work with me. Even free resources. I've got a lot of free downloads on there too. So
That's amazing. And I'll put the links in the show notes so those listening. And Shannon, again, thank you for your vulnerability, your honesty, and your light in this world. Thank you for being here today.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.